Utica College professor Chris Tingley live in studio to talk about the economics and the marketing of vapes. We're in the midst of a ban that's tied up in litigation when it comes to flavored e-cigarettes here in our state. And now there's a lot of scrutiny about the marketing of e-cigarettes.
So one of the problems that I see is that as marketers and as advertisers, we have a responsibility to our consumers and to consumers in general.
Okay.
We have a responsibility to not do harm. And whether or not we can prove that vaping is healthier than cigarettes or not, we have a responsibility not to give people the impression that something is safe if it possibly isn't.
Right.
Not to mention, we have to be very careful about who sees those advertisements, especially when we're talking about young people.
And it's a fine line because some would say that they were marketed or that they weren't marketed to children. I mean, we can look back at the history of, the traditional cigarette marketing as well. And, what flew way back then most certainly wouldn't fly today in this age. So what do you feel is that responsibility? Well,
when talking about the old cigarettes, I always think of when the Flintstones was brought to you by a cigarette company.
Right.
And doctors who smoke Camels.
Right.
And I think the moral of the story here is that e-cigarettes or vaping, I think they need to be extra careful that they don't ever go down those roads. And even if they're not saying this is healthier, they just need to be careful. And especially, normally I would say if I have an advertisement and I'm targeting one group of people, if other people see it, that's great. That's more money for me. The problem is when we're talking about something that's potentially very dangerous, they have to be extra careful about who sees those advertisements.
Right. Moving forward, where do you see this going? I mean, there's going to be a lot of litigation and this will be tied up for a while. Where do you see these companies going?
Well, I think if they survive the litigation, and I think if they're not completely banned, I think what's going to happen is they're going to have to make a strong effort to make sure that they're in front of these sort of things. In other words, they could prevent being banned in the future by making an effort to start being more responsible as advertisers.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Chris Tingley from Utica College, marketing and strategy professor, and we'll be back after this.